talking to Fastlane, Stu. I mean, I'm really I'm a fan, and I'm really happy to have you on the show.
John, thank you very much, mate. It's good to know we've got one out there, and thanks for taking the time to have a chat as well. So thank you.
Hey, believe me, you got several out here. That's what you guys are doing. I'll tell you what. But I want to first kick off with the with the new album. I mean, you have a brand new album that hits on June 30th. I was real happy to see, this one come out because I'm a big power metal fan, and the new album Fight or Fall, which is I think it's an excellent piece of power metal. What I like about it is the consistency, the whole way through with songs like obviously the Hounds of Baskerville and Fight or Fall. And I have two favorites that I wanted to bring up, At World's End and Beyond the Crimson Dawn, which I think are excellent songs. Tell us about this new album. I mean, what can the fans expect when they hear this thing drop on June 30th?
Yeah, well, mate, thank you for your comments. A lot of heart and soul went into this album. This is the vinyl version that's out at the moment. This is the red vinyl. I think the Massacre brought out this really cool limited red vinyl, which is pretty sexy.
That's nice.
Let's face it. When a band releases an album, they always think it's their best. All these people you've interviewed. We put a lot of heart and soul into this album. We spent 3 years writing, producing it. We're extraordinarily proud of it. It's a relatively short album. We got 9 songs. We've done that by design. We had 15 tracks that we went to the label with, and whenever you're contracted to a label, Massacre are fantastic. They're very, very good. They do what they say they're going to do. But we're contracted to give them, at least 45 minutes of music.
Right.
And so I went to them with a bunch of songs and I said, look, I'd like to try something different here. I want to give you 9 songs that are the very, very best of the best. Okay. And when you remove songs, it's like getting, it's cutting a child out of a party.
Right.
We really wanted to provide the very, very best of material. So we did cull a few songs that we might use in the future or rework, but that's really our focus, is to present the very best, not waste people's time. And, it's kind of cool that you've got a couple of favorites. I've got my own favorites, and everyone I talk to has 1 or 2 really standout tracks. So that's a nice thing. We haven't really had anyone say, well, you could have done without track 9, or you could have done, you know what I mean? So, yeah, very proud. And for your viewers, it's fist in the face, aggressive power metal, influenced by US power metal, which I am, Vicious Rumors and classic US power metal, like Agent Steel and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that influence in our music.
I like it. And you brought that presentation up too, and everybody that sees this, I mean, you know what you're going to get. Just look at the album cover. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I looked at it and I wanted to ask you about it. I have that later in the interview, but now that you have it up, let's discuss that.
Yeah, so the album cover was done by a European artist called Dusan Markovic. Our first album, which I have here, I can show you. We had a wolf theme on the first album. Nice. What people don't know is that the actual wolves, when you look closely, are the band. So my tattoo is on one of the wolves. All right, so it's a little cool. Easter egg for the debut. So we thought, you know what, we'll go with Dusan again. He did a great job, and the reason we carried this on is it's been 5 years since the debut album, and sometimes this might be the first time people hear Night Legion, so we were really proud of the first concept, and that's what we've gone with. So again, I guess Night Legion speaks really well to a bunch of bloodthirsty human-eating wolves, and it worked out really well. So it's also a great representation of the music. I think it's an aggressive album with an aggressive cover.
I agree, and this new one is in line with the first one. I mean, I know it's been 5 years, but what I like and what I hear between the two albums is, even though it's been 5 years, you hear the growth in the band. The song structure, and you guys are really tight, and I love the way that sounds within this album. It's a great listen all the way through.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the best thing I can hear, right? Is you had a great time hearing it. We had a great time making it. And yeah, it's growth maturely with the music. I think the first album was quite a simple album, and this one, it has some different tempos. Our drummer is a really big component of that. We've got an incredible drummer who's really a rock drummer, right? So Clay and I go back almost 30 years. I think he's one of Australia's greatest rock drummers, and he brings that mid-tempo groove and power to things that takes you out of the realm of just repetitive double kick, which is cool, but we wanted on this album to create some feel. And I mentioned in an interview yesterday that who's not influenced by Maiden, right? And what do we love about Maiden? We love the light and shade. We love the organic power. And that's something else that we've aimed for with the tones and the song and a little bit of space. So yeah.
And you mentioned Maiden too, and there's a lot of vibe, that comes off of these songs. Like the subtle intros that they kind of build up, and then then the wall of sound just kicks in and blows your mind. But that's what I like about this. There's diversity here in this album, but there's a lot of a lot of that good song structure and good sound too. And I think that's what the fans are going to love about this.
Thank you. And at the same time, like Priest is my band, you know what I mean? Louis, with no surprise, loves Iron Maiden. That's his band, you know what I mean? When you hear him, he has some Dickinson overtones.
Right.
But everything I listen to is kind of pre-1990. Right? So
that's like me, same way. I'm with you.
So it's really weird when you release an album as an artist, because you're like, I'm kind of competing for your headspace. I'm competing for your listening time with Screaming for Vengeance and with Peace of Mind. That's what I'm competing for. So it's almost impossible, but we just got to have fun doing it at the same time.
It's a really good feel for those two albums too, because they're different, yet they both pack that same power. And like you said, you're competing for, the listener's time, and everybody now has such a short attention span. And I think that's what, not only the album cover, like you said, but it really captures what this album is about. It's really good, really good. I'll say it again.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things that we really ask people, which may be asking a lot, is, when you get the album, whether you get the vinyl or the CD, or even check it out on Spotify. I'm a big Spotify fan. Have a listen to the whole thing, start to finish, because we created the album. The 9 tracks won't take, I think it's like 40 minutes of play.
Right.
That were created to work. They were created to blend. They were created to, it's not a concept album, but the feel in certain parts has been created with a purpose. And so, yeah, we're super psyched. I don't know what else to say.
That says it all right there. What I like about this as well is the production. And I know you were involved in that. I love the way it flows really nicely. But what it has is it doesn't just have that great listening vibe, when you put it in with the headphones, obviously, but it has the live feel. And it really comes off good with that sound. Tell us about that, about the production and how this came about.
Yeah, man. Well, the really secret sauce in the album is a guy in Melbourne called Chris Themelco, who mixed and mastered the album. This has been the first album I've released where I've had nothing to do with mixing and mastering, thank God. It's something I've always tried to farm out to people that have got far more expertise. And when we were briefing him on what we wanted, we wanted an album that I call it caramelization. When you turn the album up, you want it to give you that caramelization. You want it to sound different and better, not just loud. It's got to provide, and that again, talking Maiden and Priest, you go and put on the vinyl of let's say Defenders of the Faith. I hear at a certain volume a certain thing. When I crank it, I hear something slightly different, and I enjoy it more. And so that's an art form in itself that he's mastered. Adding also, we remastered the vinyl for vinyl. So we haven't just taken a CD and thrown it to vinyl. We really spent time making sure that, it's because it's a completely different medium, that it sounds a lot better on vinyl. So I've handled the producer duties in coordinating all the songwriting, the order of the songs. I worked with the guys in the band on, and worked closely with Chris on drafts of mixes, but he really nailed it first take. So yeah, we're very fortunate, and I think it does compete with, your Andy Sneaps, your Jacob Hansons. These are the big producers in Europe. We're really happy with how it's coming across through Spotify and iTunes. It sounds fantastic. Yeah, super proud.
We're talking about the production, and I know a lot of the things that I hear are, I'm not going to say so much overproduced, but a lot of the stuff sounds alike, but this one doesn't. Like you were talking about the old school feel, but it has a mixture of both. It has a good old school style and feel and flow, but the production, has that modern massiveness that we love now, and we can really, blow the windows open.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, it's so personal when you release an album. Is you've got the artwork, right? The artwork's the first thing you see. Secondly, the songs and the performance, but then the production is its own beast. And we wanted it to be a little timeless. We hope it's a bit timeless, and we hope that when people hear it, because I'm so connected to it, it's hard for me to have a big ego about it. We just hope that when people hear it, they're like, this sounds great. I can hear everything. I can hear the bass. Finally, I can hear the bass in a heavy metal song.
Right.
And that's what we've really tried to do, is to make sure that we've got those frequencies really evenly distributed. And these are the things that you don't think about, just enjoy it. So yeah.
Right. That's it. It's about enjoyment. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
When you go into the studio, or however you do the process, a lot of it's at home, I know now, and exchanging tracks with people, not, with that time. What's it like going into the studio and the recording process for Night Legion and yourself?
Yeah, well, I guess it stems way back to the Empires of Eden albums that I did, is that I got so comfortable with doing albums remotely.
Right.
So I'd write and record here in my studio, but I'd have singers in Europe, singers in the States, singers in South Africa, all over the world, Japan, sending me vocals, and sometimes we'd have Skype sessions and I'd write. So I'm super comfortable with doing it this way. We've done that with Death Dealer, my American power metal band. And, even though the guys are in Sydney, we also did it this way. Our singer is in Melbourne. The guys record all at home. They do their own thing on their own time, at their own pace. They can put many, many more hours into it than we do, and we pay $100 an hour for a studio. And then once they're happy with everything, it's my job really, from a production perspective, to compile, edit, make sure all the tracks are clean, and then work with someone like Chris to do the mixing and the mastering. So I don't need to be in the same space as people. We can communicate clearly, like you and I. Right now, we could write a song, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you could tell me what you want from a guitar solo, So that's the beauty of technology, is we can now open these roads up to each other to, be creative.
It is. It's a whole different process, I'm sure. I mean, you've been in the business, for a long time, and you've seen it seeing it all. Do you feel that this writing process is a little bit better for you, or did you kind of like that kind of in the studio, because it seemed like it was kind of restrictive when you were in a studio, like, hey, you have this amount of time and
Yeah, I think they both have pros and cons. It depends on the writer. Um, I'm somebody that when I write, I see the concept, I see the bigger concept. So when I present you a demo, it's kind of done. But the cool thing is then you can actually put your bits and pieces onto a semi-final vision that also then elevates it further. So like on this album, really good example, the track Hounds of the Baskervilles, we had Mike LePond from Symphony X and Death Dealer play bass, right?
Right.
The guy is beyond incredible, okay, but he elevates things. So I was able to give him a final song with my crappy bass playing, and he just went, "Oh, you want this?" and just came back with a musical kind of tour de force that I listened to it and I got emotional. I'm just like, oh my God, like, well, this has been sent to the stars, you know? So it's a good way to work. There's no pressure. If you want to take a week, you take a week. But when some people work really well under pressure. I think I heard Testament sometimes just go, we're going to write in the studio, and that works for them. That can work for the collective. Whereas I'm just so used to doing it this way. It's what works for me.
It comes across really well. I mean, the music is really good. It's tight, and just by talking to you, I can tell you relax going in, to this, and it has to feel good as an artist to have that flexibility, and I'm sure the guys that work with you too say the same thing. Just, hey, we're already accustomed to the way this guy works, and and they bring it. There's no two ways about it.
Who doesn't like working on their own time? Everyone likes working on their own time, and this day and age, I worked with Ralph Sheepers on a track on my solo album. Ralph's got a home studio.
Great guy.
Like, Ralph doesn't want to get in a car and drive 2 hours to a studio. He'd rather be operating at home, recording when he feels like it, doing as many takes as he wants to do, being as creative as he wants to be. So I think any singer would prefer their own private environment. But I'm certainly there to coax for some that need it. Ralph doesn't need any coaxing, but some performers do want to be produced. And sometimes I'll hear vocals and say, hey, can you do that again? Or that can work sometimes, to push people.
Right. We're talking about vocalists now, and I wanted to bring up Louis, because I think he's an excellent power metal vocalist. But he has a lot of different variations to what he does. What's it like to when you go in with a vocalist like that, it's probably comfortable for you as an artist to you're able to stretch the boundaries and do different things. What's it like working with Louis?
That's a dream. Apart from the fact that he's a lovely bloke, we've been friends for a long time, he's a perfectionist. And he can kind of sing anything. He sent me some demos of a band he did where he's singing really rough and really dark, and he can do all that, but he can also do the incredible high soaring power screams, So it's a treat to be able to. All I know is that every time I write for him, I'm going to get something incredible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to go back on, yeah. You know what I mean? And same thing with Sean Peck from Death Dealer. Like Sean's that kind of singer too. Anything you get back is going to be like Christmas Day. You know what I mean? So,
right.
You're opening your presents on Christmas. That's how I see it.
That's great.
Because what people may not know is I don't write lyrics and melodies. I write the music, and so I have a vision of what Louis might do or what Sean might do. But then when I get it back, it completely changes the vibe, and 9.9 times out of 10, it's home run.
That's nice to hear. And you said that I use that a lot too, like opening a Christmas present when you hear that music the first time, because it really is.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no better way to put that. I really like that somebody else thinks that way too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is kids playing in a sandbox. Let's face it, right?
Right, right.
Music, yeah, we can take, like if you want to talk about serious music, like I'm the biggest Manowar fan. I'm dead serious about heavy metal, like all that kind of stuff. We're just kids playing in a sandbox,
Right.
being creative, and it's great when you can work with people that deliver and do what they say they're going to do. And yeah, man, fantastic. And I think you'll find on the new album Fight or Fall an incredible depth of vocal in Louis. I really want people to check out the singles we've got out, because you're going to hear something very unique from a great singer.
I totally agree. Very well put. Excellent, excellent album again. And when you go into to write, Stu, what's the writing process like? I mean, is it something that is it a hook that you look for? Is it a rhythm? Is it a melody?
Yeah,
Tell us a little
look,
bit about that.
yeah, as a guitar player, it really starts with the riff. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I get a lot of inspiration from watching movies and TV. Like for example, 12 years ago, I was watching the Underworld series, with the lichens and
Right.
the werewolves versus vampires, and the word death dealer was mentioned, and I'm like, that's a great name for a band. So I checked out, and I think the last band that had that name was from '85, and they were called Death Dealer at one stage. Anyway, I watch movies and get inspired by this stuff. This is my home studio, so I'll come straight in here and go, like, example, I love Hammer horror films. I love horror movies. And I was watching Hounds of the Baskervilles, and I just loved Peter
Cool.
Cushing and that old school vibe and how dark and evil it was, even though it
Right,
was a little bit like the special effects were terrible. I'm like, I've got to write a song about this.
right.
You know what I mean? So when I sat down, the riffs started to come together. And for me, you asked the question about how I approach it. I do see the larger concept. So I thought, you know what, big orchestral intro, riffing in. I'm hugely influenced by King Diamond.
Right.
You're going to hear a lot of that in my music. So I think that song has a little bit of a King feel to it.
Does
And then I saw the bigger concept that I also wanted an orchestral breakdown, the light and shade in the middle, that told the story. So that's how those concepts come together. I do see a bigger concept. I don't just have one or two riffs, but I'm usually inspired by something, and it just grows from there.
What's nice too is not only did you capture that feel because like you said, Cushing. I mean, obviously, man, the guy was one of the greatest ever. In that type of film. But you captured it in the video as well. It has that good, vibe. And tell us about that a little bit. I mean, because it really, when you talk about the song too, and you talk about the structure and how you wrote it, but to be able to tie the video into it as well, I think that's really cool. A
You,
part of this.
we got really lucky with a videographer, Martin, who's based in Europe, who does all of our lyric videos. He's fantastic, really cool guy to work with, but gets our concept, So it's hard for bands to be, you want to connect with the right people, and Martin for us is our go-to guy. So he's done the Hounds video. He's also done Soaring Into the Black, which is our new single. It just came out today. Where are we? June 7th. So he's done that video. We're real happy with it. He kind of gets our vibe. So that's part of the challenge.
Right.
Look, no doubt we'd love to use footage from the movie, but
Right.
I think we could be sued into eternity. So
Exactly.
yeah, but yeah, man, we're real happy with it.
It's something you can't even touch. You put a little bit of movie, and I think you get maybe a minute or something, and then they come after you as soon as you get to hit that
Yeah,
minute point.
it's just not worth the pain.
Exactly. Go through enough. The debut album we were talking about, Night Legion. And you held it up there, and the song Night Legion. It's a great album. Was the first time I heard you guys, and that song right there just the way it kicks in. I mean, that you have something really special here. It kind of had that vibe. Tell us about that first album. I mean, what was it like when you guys got together to put that
Mm.
out? And that had to be amazing for you.
Yeah. So one thing I've never told anybody is that song "Night Legion" is pretty much a feel ripoff of the Thundercats
That's cool.
soundtrack.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
because I was a huge Thundercats fan, and I went, man, I really want to do like a song that kind of bam bam, and makes it powerful. So that's where that's from. But yeah, this band was originally formed when I was on hiatus from Death Dealer. Death Dealer, my American band. We did some European touring. We released our third album, and Sean got real busy with Dano Sherman, which was the guys from Merciful Fate, and then Ross. Everybody knows Ross the Boss. Ross took off with his solo band, and 12 months we were out. So I was sitting in Australia twiddling my thumbs, and I went, you know what? I'm going to form a band of my best friends.
Right.
So this band was formed with guys I go back, in some cases, 30 years with. And so pulling it together was a joy. The singer on the album, Bo Simpson, great talent, fantastic guy. He's got his own other band it's a bit of a priority for him. That's why we ended up with Louis, and thankfully for us, we ended up with Louis. But yeah, how did it all come together? I had some songs that didn't make it to Death Dealer, that were a little bit more straightforward, a bit more powerful, and I thought they were really strong. And so, I don't know if we can see the track listing, but songs there like The Warrior.
Right.
This is up on your streaming media if you guys want to check it out, and you can also get it through Massacre. The booklet's pretty sick in this one as well.
Oh yeah.
But songs like Hell Below, which
Right.
is your pirate song. Enter the Storm. So Enter the Storm's interesting because that was on my Empires of Eden album with Louis. Louis wrote that.
Really?
So we
That's
perform
cool.
that live now as Night Legion. So it's all come full circle. But it was a shame that it was so long between albums, but it was necessary in the family,
Right. And then things come when they're supposed to. They're happen when they're supposed to happen, and that's 5 years. But the quality that you get here, for the fans that are listening in is superb. They're
Thank
gonna
you.
love this album. Anybody
Thank
who
you.
hasn't heard it, it's gonna blow your mind. That's the way I felt when I first heard it. I listened through it multiple times, right
Thank
out of
you.
the
Thanks.
gate. Very, very good stuff.
We've got some cool on our Facebook page. We've got direct pre-order links. So if anybody wants to get the red vinyl, I think these are limited, and we're super happy with the fact that Massacre's done red vinyl. But the CD, black vinyl, and red vinyl, they're through Nuclear Blast's shipping process, so it's reliable, and it's all there for anybody that wants to pre-order it.
It's a great album. I don't know how long we have, Mark. I mean, still, but we have. We're going in 30 minutes. Is there a time limit they give you on these, or?
No, mate, but I've got another interview soon. But I'm happy to wrap.
Okay, I wanted to bring up Empires of Eden. Yeah, saw the shirt, and like I said, I was blown away because I love that sound. I mean, because it kind of incorporates, the heaviness, but the melodic side of it. Tell us about Empires of Eden, and what people can expect listening to you guys there, because that's good stuff.
Yeah, man. So Empires of Eden was essentially a solo project I started 12 years ago. I called it Empires of Eden instead of Stu Marshall's Empires of Eden, like my name's nowhere near it, is because while I wrote the music, all the singers wrote all their own lyrics and melodies. It was released, there were 4 albums released through a number of labels that did a good job, but it just never really got the momentum I don't think it deserved. This is the album from the third cover, channeling the infinite. But those albums had like Ralph Sheepers. It was more of a dream project for me, like working with Udo Dirkschneider, Zach Stevens, Rob Rock. You know, it's how I met Sean. You know, I was a big Cage fan, so it was a very self-indulgent power metal project of everything I wanted to do musically with no dollar sign attached to it, just pure honesty.
Right.
And I told the singers, go for it. I'm not going to question anything you do. I think I had Mike Vasera, ex-Malmsteen, Loudness sing, and he was like, this is the first time I've actually been allowed to do anything I want to do. You know, normally I'm told or given guide vocals. So what you're hearing on these albums, the only thing that's kind of weird is they're hard to get. So they're not on any social streaming platforms.
Right.
And I've seen some of the CDs sell as high as $60.
Wow.
So I've got to talk to Massacre about maybe re-releasing the albums in time. So you can check them out on YouTube. I think people have uploaded them to YouTube. But you know, we're Night Legion's a band, we're Death Dealer is a band, and I consider everyone's views. Empires of Eden is really a machine directly from my skull. You know, long solos, you know,
Right.
It's sort of my ego project, I guess you might call it. But I did want to remove my name from it, and I actually think that's probably hurt me over time, because people are like, how many bands have Eden in their friggin' name? Heaps. So it's kind of just, you know, I think it just got forgotten a little bit. So I do recommend anyone wants to check it out, please go and do so.
Please definitely check it out. It's really good stuff. I was listening to it today, and you know, definitely enjoying myself. But still,
Thank you.
I want to say, you know, in closing here, because I know you have another interview coming up, is I want to say thank you, you know, for what you do, because you know, as a fan, as a listener, you know, I really appreciate that. I mean, you look at, you know, the course of your career, and all the guys that do this type of music, you know, it touches a nerve. It's an art form. It's really appreciated by people like me. And I just want to say that I appreciate it and thank you. Continue to do what you do, man, because you got a huge fan here.
It's very warm of you to say that, John. Thank you, mate. You know, we're pretty humble about it. We just want to do the best we can. We're all fans ourselves. You know, we strive to make the best product we can, and hopefully we can bring Night Legion over to the States. I'm talking to some promoters at the moment. So, you know, if we can get something happening, you'll be the first to know.
Oh, I'd love to see you guys. Love to see you guys. So they have
we just played with Udo in Sydney with Louis, and we're about to release a live video too on June 30th. That'll come out, which will be the song is Babylon Burns. So there'll be
nice.
a live clip for Babylon that people can actually see what the hell we look like on stage. So you know what I mean? Like, it's not a studio band, dude. This is a live thing. So
Right.
we were pumped to do the gig, and we had a great time with Udo. I've worked with him before. So yeah.
Can't wait to see it. I hope you guys get over here. Everybody that's listening, Fight or Fall, Night Legion, get out and listen to this. Grab a copy. No matter what you do, make sure you get it in your hands. There you go. There you go. Fight
Thanks
or
a lot,
Fall,
man.
great album cover, great music inside the album cover. You can't beat this one, guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
Stu, thanks for joining Talking to Fastlane, and keep us posted on anything that you and the guys are doing, because I love it. We'll spread
Mate,
the word,
thank you
man.
for your time. It's been a very enjoyable chat.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Stu.
See you,
Best
brother.
of luck
See you,
with the
mate.
album too. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. See you,
We'll
mate.
see you.